This is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent Podcast, hosted by me, Kelly Donahue Piro. This show is for growing insurance agencies looking to maximize their biggest investment, their people. Listen to the top agency performance partners clients share their story on how they boosted their performance by executing a plan. Let's head to the show. Hey everyone, so this is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent Podcast, and we're going to talk to one of my closest friends, Stacy Cholas of Foothills Insurance. She motivated me and inspired me to do the 75-day hard challenge. So we recommend you grab a cup of coffee because this is like two girlfriends catching up on all things insurance, 75 hard, the need for more discipline, and the need for motivation in this industry. So go check it out. Without further ado, I bring you the wonderful, the powerful, the most amazing, Mrs. Stacy Cholas. Well, hello, everybody. I am so excited for our guest today. This is the Ridiculously Amazing Insurance Agent Podcast, and I get to have one of my best friends in the whole wide world on. Hi. Hi. The one, the only Stacy Cholas of Foothills Insurance. Stacy, how many times a day do you think we text each other?
It is an interesting text string, and there really is nothing better. If you need a good smile, like you just scroll through our text string and it is amazing.
I also think that we have to have like a destroy the text string if something ever happens to one of us. Like there needs to be like the in case of emergency so that if it gets put in the wrong hands, someone hits the nuclear button.
That is actually a genius. We're going to need to share codes and iCloud backup information and delete for sure.
Yes, exactly. Because it gets, if all of you guys out there who think that, there's things that ladies shouldn't hear, you should see what's in this text string. It'll make some of the guys out there blush. But so we are here today to talk about a thing that Stacy got me into called 75 hard. But before we go with that, we want to, it's like kind of a trendy thing now in insurance. There's actually a whole group with Jason Cass's group that's going to kick it off after they go to brain share, because it's hard not to drink when you go to social events. But we'll talk about what 75 hard is, the business lessons we both learned from it. But why don't for those of you who don't know Stacy, like I know Stacy, why don't we start, Stacy? Who are you? What do you do? What do you want to be when you grow up? All of the things. Why don't you tell our listeners what we got?
Love it. Well, I am Stacy Cholas. I am married to Greg Cholas, and we own Foothills Insurance together. We had a captive agency for about 5 years, and then we decided that that was insanity and needed to go independent. We've been independent since 2004, 2005. I don't know. It's been a long time. We've been in insurance for a long, long time.
It's pre-COVID. That's all I know. I know pre and post.
Right.
I don't know any dates any longer.
PC now means pre-COVID. Yes. Amen. It could be 942 years ago at this point. Who knows? So we are an independent agency here in Denver, Colorado. We have what we feel like is a decent size agency that just keeps growing in an amazing way, but we feel like every single day there's something new to learn and something new to challenge us, and that's where 75 hard kind of came into us, didn't it?
Well, and don't forget you're mom to two pretty stellar athlete boys.
2 football wrestling boys, which you can see I'm all decked out in all of my Bulldogs. We've got varsity game tonight, JV game tomorrow. It's bye for the little kid this weekend. So we're insanity. So yes, 2 amazing teenage boys.
So top secretly, when I go out there, I usually stay at Stacy's house, and my claim to fame is I'm going to say that I slept in the same bed as like an NFL player someday. So I'm like, that's going to be my Hollywood true story. I'm going to sell all the secrets to the paparazzi because Stacy kicks her kids out of their own room when I come in. and so that's going to be my claim to fame, just for the record. And
I think boys have their way. They're going to be world champion wrestlers is probably where you're going to be your claim to fame.
That's fine. That's fine. And then they also have a very impressive air gun collection too. So if you ever want to wake up in the middle of the night surrounded by guns, you can go to their rooms and it's great.
You're such a good sport when it comes to
Oh.
where you have to crash in this house.
Listen, it's like, I felt like more empowered by all the guns being around. Like if somebody was to break in, I was going to wreck some shit. So
You were safe as can be. Hey, I forgot to ask you, we're okay to cuss?
Yeah, it just gets marked as explicit on the podcast. So just, and I mean, let's keep it lady cussing. Let's not go to some of the really vile words that are in that text chain.
Got it. I'm on it. Okay, good to know.
All right. So I've known Stacy for a long time, gotten the pleasure to work with all the humans in her agency. And so she one day was like, I'm doing this thing called 75 Hard. And I had heard about it and I was like, that's whack. Who does that? These people are insane. So why don't you start? Because you started the whole thing. So where did you hear about 75 Hard? And then what made you decide to then, tell everybody what it entails and how long you thought about doing it before you actually did it?
Well, so one of the girls that I work out with started posting every day this stupid picture of herself, and it's day 1, day 2. And so I see her at the gym on day 3. I'm like, what on earth are you doing? She's like, it's called 75 Hard. And so she sent me the podcast, not the one about 75 Hard, just Andy Frisella's podcast. And I loved it. He was the MF CEO is what his podcast was called. And it's the motherfucking CEO. And it was really about how to run a business and how to crush what you do every single day. And once you get to, I don't know, episode?
It's like 80 is when they talk about, there's a couple, he bounces around on all the phases and everything else.
Yeah. So I found that one specifically and listened to the 75 Hard challenge. And some people think of it as a fitness challenge, and it's not. There is definitely a fitness component, but it is 100% a mental challenge. So I listened to it that day. Halloween was on a Saturday, and I listened to it on Sunday. And Sunday I went, there's no way I can do this. There's no way. But I'm going to try. I thought, let's just see if I try. So literally I gave it about 7 minutes thought. And the rules are you have to do 2 45-minute workouts every single day. And one of them must be outdoors.
3 hours apart.
Yes, at least a good chunk of time apart. And one of them must be outdoors.
No matter the weather.
Doesn't matter the weather. Like I was out in the blizzard. I was out in sleet and rain, snow and stupid hellfire hot. Like we have been through all of it at this point.
Except I think if Irma hits or if there is a natural, like an epic natural disaster, not just rain, safety first.
Safety first. And he says, don't go out into a tornado, use your brain, but be ready to work out once it's cleared out.
But a little rain is not going to stop you.
No, rain is not going to stop you. It actually kind of makes it fun when it's raining. Then you have to pick a diet and you have to follow it without fail. You cannot modify the diet. You cannot, and it doesn't matter what diet you pick. You have to pick something.
And there's no cheat days.
No cheat days, no cheat meals, no cheat anything. But the diet was the one where that's the 6 minutes of thought that I had to give it to, because I went, okay, if I got to follow a diet, what am I going to follow? And my girlfriend was doing one. And so I said, hey, send me what your diet is so that I can start this tomorrow. And it was really easy it was a simple one to follow. It didn't take a lot of prep. It didn't take a lot of, I could do it real easy. And then the next rule is no alcohol and no cheat meals. You can't even consider if you're going to ask if this is cheating, the answer is don't do it. 1 gallon of water every day. You have to read 10 pages of a nonfiction book, and you have to take a daily progress picture. And the progress picture is every single day. And it seems like it's super easy, right? Like you can do all these things. The workout's kind of hard, but it's really not. It's 245 minutes.
I thought it was the easiest part because it was the biggest part to like build your day around. So you couldn't, it was the small things that sometimes it'd be like, the water was.
Well, yeah. You're half asleep. You're ready. Like you're crawling in bed. You're so thankful for how great you did today. And then you remember you forgot to take a picture.
Right.
Flying out of bed. You got to get your picture uploaded to the app. Like that was the thing that's the one that almost got me. Twice.
That was the one I was terrified of. I was like, I'm going to forget a photo or something. Like I'm going to do so good. And then I'm going to forget the stupid photo.
Yep. 100%. So it's not hard, but the big part of it is it's not hard. So you let yourself slip. You let yourself think, oh, you get a little cocky. Hey, I got this. No problem. And then that's when you crawl into bed. So proud of yourself.
Let's talk about the hard thing, because I think it was not hard for us, but we were working out kind of watching what we were eating to some degree. Do you know, like I was a reader beforehand, but I wasn't like as like structured. It would be like, oh, I'll read a couple chapters here and there. And so I feel like for the people who don't work out at all right now, like this is a lifestyle change. Like for us, I feel like it was like an upgrade in our lifestyle.
It took a little tweaking, a little fine tuning for what we normally do, where some people, that don't work out at all. I mean, you have to now motivate yourself to do this twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
That is hard for some people.
Yeah. So Stacy said a lot there. So you just decided one day, woke up, I'm just doing it. And that's what I did too. I was just like, I think it was like Memorial Day weekend, or I think it was Memorial Day weekend, or it was like something around Memorial, it was one of the holidays. It was like a couple days before. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. And then people were like, why don't you just start after the holiday? I'm like, what's the point? Like,
let's do it.
And that's what I see a lot of people doing now. It's like, well, I'm going to plan when I start. I'm like, I think you're planning to fail. Like just wake up one day and do it. Don't overthink it.
Oh, well, and part of had I thought through when I was doing mine, it was Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and fine, except for we have a big neighborhood party. And so there goes the drinking, but it was really interesting to test myself to see if I could do it.
It's also only 75 days. Like
right.
75 days is a long time, but it's not like I'm giving up drinking the rest of my life. I'm never eating cake again the rest of my life. It is a period of 2.5 months that you're trying to master. And like, I'm going to be going to insurance events like IAOA, things like that, like not drinking. And I'm like, I'm going to see, it's going to be like a whole different perspective. Like, look at this. And I'm going to get like sleep.
But I don't understand what sleep is, and good sleep, because it won't be like half hungover sleep.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole different thing. Like I feel like I'm gonna be able to like write a book about IAOA sober.
I'll remember everything. It'll be great.
It'll be like that got said. I remember it.
Nope.
So you pick up the 75 hard. I start looking at your progress pics and be like, damn, like I could use that in my life, right? So then I decide that I'm going to do it. And then Stacy became my motivational mentor. Like, how do you drink all this water? What do you do when your toe is about to fall off from blisters from working out twice a day for 75 days? No rest days, guys. There's no like, take a rest day. Your body needs it. It's like, no, F that noise. And the one thing Stacy forgot to mention is if you get to day 65 and you don't do one of those tasks, you're going back to day 1.
Oh, yes.
So there is a feel of like a total fear of this whole thing. So for some of you guys who think that that's crazy, then there's phases after with cold showers and talking to strangers, which is the one that I'm not looking forward to because I feel like I talk to people all the time. So now I've got to talk to strangers. So why don't we start with the idea, like you guys now know what 75 hard is. There's some people right now who have literally like, dude, I'm not doing that. That's insanity. What do you say to the haters out there that think that it's an impossible situation?
I think, well, then why not try it?
Right.
Why not? Like, what's the worst thing that's going to happen? You're going to go 3 or 4 days and figure out where your weakness is, right?
That's a good point.
Or you make it to day 75 and you're thinking, I just did this for 75 days. I cannot believe I did that. And I had some naysayers that said I was stupid. It was crazy. It was insanity. It's unhealthy.
Not good for you.
Right. Yeah. And I'm thinking, what's not good for me? The no alcohol or the water or the fresh air or the using my brain? Like what? I don't understand. And then you get a lot of people that will ask, well, what's the end game? Because you can't sustain this forever. That's the point though. You can sustain all of this forever. And it's not that you have to do, like you said, never, ever again, but if you can do chunks at a time, it's amazing what you start to accomplish. Like when you are very focused and you're very diligent, the things that you can accomplish and the goals that you can achieve without having to say, well, I'm going to lose 30 pounds tomorrow. You don't. These little incremental pieces, it's the compound effect, right?
Yeah. It was the first time that I was like losing weight without thinking about it every day.
Yep.
Like, I don't know how to explain that, but it wasn't like how many calories, how many macros, like, it was just like, if you just do these 10 things and forget about the rest of it, it works. And it was true.
Yep. And it was one of those, I mean, how long was it? I think I was at day 60 before I got on the scale the first time and was like, what did I just do? Like, I had no idea because I wasn't flipping back through my pictures every day. I felt better and my clothes fit different, but I didn't notice it until I got on the scale and I compared those pictures side by side. It was insane.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I remember texting Stacy at one point because I know you're like, well, is this a podcast about 75 hard or insurance? It's a podcast about both right now today. But I texted Stacy one day and I was like, I don't know, maybe it was like 3 weeks in. And I was like so itchy. I was like, I'm going to punch somebody. But it wasn't about the fact that like I was like dieting. It was the fact that like everywhere I looked, all I saw was other people's excuses about life in general, because I had given up making excuses. Like, you guys who listen to me know, like, I fly every single week. I flew home on an airplane last night as a red eye, and I'm still getting into workout today. Right. So I'm, in an airport negotiating where I'm going to get like a salad and, taking half the crap off of it. And so like, everyone's like, well, it's just so hard. I can't do X, Y, Z. I'm like, stop it. Like, I just had this day where it was like epic meltdown about excuses. And both in my business and in my clients, I got probably a little like Kelly on her soapbox with some people, because it was like, that's just an excuse. Just stop doing it. Call it what it is. And so did you have that moment as well, where it was just like okay, I am surrounded by excuses and I want to punch people?
And it was at the office. It was clients making, you get the parents that call for their kids, their 40-year-old kid, and they're making excuses for their kid. And then you hear like my kids making excuses about their schoolwork, and you hear like friends talk about things, and you're like, I'm sorry, what was on your list today? I don't quite understand. What do you mean you couldn't get it done? Like, let's get this finished. Like, let's get this taken care of. It's amazing how quickly you identify what your wasters are, time-wise, energy, brain space. If you're not paying rent in my brain, then get the heck out of it, because I don't have time for it. And your patience for it goes away because you recognize you have to be diligent, or you become the excuse, and that doesn't work.
Well, and it's also kind of like, once you live in a zero excuse environment for yourself, and you're holding yourself to a higher standard, because what you said, I had happened to me, and it was just like, oh, well, you're just stressed out because you're doing 75 hard. I'm like, no, I'm stressed out because of all the excuses you just gave me on why you're not doing X, Y, Z. Like, the fact that I'm going to go take a 45-minute walk outside is the de-stress for the thing you just put on my plate.
Exactly.
So let's not blame something else on what we have going on here. And so the other thing that you have to know about Stacy and I is that we have been known to light up some drinks. There is that. And so, one of the big fears I had was like, I had not drank since high school for 75 days. Like, if I'm being totally honest. Now, I wouldn't say I had a drinking problem. Okay. But I had a drinking hobby.
Yep.
I had a hobby, and that was what stopped me from doing it for so long, until I listened to a podcast with our friend Glennon Doyle. And she said, if you're coming home stressed out and you think, oh, I had a stress, I'm gonna have a drink, you're better served fixing the thing that caused you to be stressed than having a drink. And I was like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so then I made a commitment to myself. I'm not going to drink unless, like, if it's not stress related, like, I'll have a drink at dinner or this. And then one thing led to another. And I'm like, I don't miss drinking, like, at all.
It's amazing how there's a habit built into it. I was on
ritual.
Like, right.
Like,
and the boys were all at wrestling practice, and I was making dinner. It was day 3 or 4. Right. And like, didn't have wine out, didn't have anything because it was day 3 or 4. And when we, like, the girls and I all drink together. So we just finish a bottle. Cause if you don't finish a bottle, it's got to go in the trash. Like, it's just not worth it. And I walked over to the kitchen, or walked to the refrigerator, and our wine glasses are up above. And I grabbed a wine glass out, and I went to go grab the wine bottle opener. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, you're not drinking. But it was such a habit that I didn't even realize I was doing it until I had almost opened the bottle. Like, I literally had gotten that far when I was like, that's when I knew. I was like, okay, now I need to make sure, like, it needs to be very intentional. I need to drink when I have planned it, when it works with what we're doing, it goes with what we're eating. Like, there needs to be a plan around it, not just I'm stressed out or I'm bored.
Yeah.
I'm bored is a scary one.
Or, well, let's go out to grab lunch. Let's go have dinner. It's like, I don't go to restaurants without drinking.
Right. Did you notice how much money you saved is my question.
Unbelievable. Like, and we didn't go out to dinner because like our favorite dinner Italian place is down the road. The guy like knows we like a nice wine. So he's always like, you have to try this nice bottle. Of course, we're going to try this nice bottle. Cause I've already had a martini before I decided to start drinking wine, of course. Sure. And then, then it's like, I don't go to the gym the next day. It's like an entire chain effect. I don't sleep well. I don't do this. And like, that was one big aha moment for me. And I even did it today. Like when I get tired on the road, my instinct is, sleep in that extra hour. And it's actually the dumbest thing I could do because I need to get up, go to the gym, get the energy flowing for 45 minutes. That extra hour of sleep isn't going to do anything for me.
Right. Yep. So, you got to get the cobwebs going and then your body moves better and you're not sore sitting down and you're not like, it makes a big, big difference all the way around.
Yeah. So it was a big, and what Stacy said about being mental toughness, it's so true. It's not a diet. It's not a fitness plan. And but it kind of presents that way because like what you see is people losing weight, right? You don't see their brain getting tougher. So, but internally,
unless you're on the text string with us, if you're on the text string, you see a lot of it.
Yeah, you see a lot of mental toughness happening, especially this past week. We have been super mentally tough this past week, but it's a whole thing. And so let's get back, like break it down to how we integrate this with insurance, right? So how has this helped in your agency, right? Like as a business owner, as someone who leads people, is a mom, like how has this shown up in your life?
The first piece of it that really made a difference was Andy talks about your bitch voice. And it's the voice that tells you you can't do this. You're not going to be successful. You're going to fail. You're not smart enough. You're not fast enough. You're not whatever enough. And the minute that you hear that in your brain, whether it be, I don't want to get out of bed, or it's easier just to eat this crumble cookie, crumble cookies, whatever it is, the minute that you learn to identify that and you can turn it off and pivot and get to the thing that you are telling yourself you can't do, the minute that you start to identify that when it comes to these part of the challenges, then you can hear it and recognize it when you're at the office and you're dealing with those things. So the minute that you start to feel yourself retract or pull away when something gets hard or challenging, that's when you go, oh, that's my bitch voice. I've got this. And you step right up and you hit it. You just hit it head on. You don't even give it a second thought. That was the first piece that really, I could tell the difference in the office, and the girls could tell. And Greg told me, I didn't really tell him I was doing it. I didn't really make it a big deal. And about 3 weeks in, he said, I know you're doing this and I think it's amazing. And I can tell a huge difference. And I said, really? Like you can see a difference? He goes, no, I can tell a difference mentally at the office. He's like, I can 100% tell.
Also, by the way, you look just like Alanis Morissette on this podcast.
I do.
Yeah. The hair, I don't know what it is, but Stacy we should hire you at IAO. You can be fake Alanis Morissette.
I like it. Let's do that. I'll be your celebrity personality this next time.
Didn't mean to interrupt you halfway, but we do that all the time.
No, it's all good. So that what I would say was the first big difference that we could tell in the office. And then it goes back to that compound effect. It was the things that we were picking and we were focusing on every single day. They were small. It started with one of the things at First Form is they handwrite in their, and actually they do it for 75 hard too. They literally handwrite on every single invoice and it says something specific and something intentional. And so the office started doing handwritten thank you cards. They send 5 a day, each of them every day. Those things started to be noticed and they started to be recognized by the clients, and it made a huge deal. It made a big difference, and they've all been recognized and they have kept with the habits. Mm-hmm. They're continuing to mail 5 cards a day, every day.
Yeah. I think it's super interesting for me. One of the things that came out too was like, you know, I have a big circle of people I know, but as you know, I have a very small pack, right? And then there's some of these people like in the middle somewhere. And the way I describe it with agencies and even personal life is sometimes you outgrow people. And as someone who, like myself, I love personal development. Like my why is I want to hit my potential. And so like, I'm like super focused on it. And so during this process, I started really recognizing people that actually were not on Team Kelly. Like they thought they were, or they presented that way. But then things like, as you was going through it, it would be like, oh, I'm in town. Why don't we grab dinner? Okay, no problem. I'm not drinking. It's like, oh, well, why don't we wait till you are? And I was like, am I not fun to have dinner with if I'm not drinking? Like, what does it make you uncomfortable? Like, what would you do if you were around a pregnant person?
Right.
What is the deal? Or people who would be like, maybe you should take it a little easy. You're going a little too hard. And I was like, cool. Mm-hmm. And like, in the meantime, like, I'm feeling better than ever. And this person's complaining, struggling about a broken life. It's like, hey, maybe you should go a little harder.
Right. Yeah. Step up a little bit, step up and fulfill your potential. See what you can do. Again, it's just about like, if you don't think you can, try, because you just don't know.
Well, and I also think it's like mentally, it is overwhelming, which is why I'm glad I started it the way that you did, kind of, which was I remember just sitting in bed and I was like, when should I start 75 hard? And then I was just like, this is the dumbest conversation. I'm just doing it today. And like, I didn't have anything planned. I didn't have like a meal prep. I was like, Stacy, what diet am I doing?
Here it is. And it was easy, right?
Yeah. Well, I did fasting. So I only eat between 1 and 9. I do juggle that because of like dinner, like some dinners and like time changes, but like, it's always it's like an 8-hour window I eat within. It's never that crazy. And
It simplified your life, didn't it?
Dude, I ate breakfast because I'm on a 1-week break right now. I ate breakfast once. And I was like, this is horrible. Why did I just like my body's like,
I have to think about food too early. No.
Yeah. It was a breakfast burrito. It was a pretty heavy choice for a breakfast when you haven't eaten breakfast in like 80 days. So,
Smart.
Well, it was a different time zone. I kind of played it in my head like it was lunch on the East Coast, but either way.
It didn't work out for you.
It did not work out for me. But so, as you're thinking about the one thing that I would say is, and you had a lot of personal stuff go on during this time frame. I have a lot of personal stuff going on. And the one takeaway I really had was in every agency I work with, there's stuff going on. All right. One of the agencies that we work with got hit with Irma. I mean, like dead square on Irma, right? Like we deal with heavy things in the world, all the things that are going on, heavy, heavy, heavy stuff. And for some odd reason, doing 75 hard made me feel in control.
Yeah.
Like, so if like you're short staffed and this is going on, this is burning, these are 10 things that I could control every day that were making a positive impact in a world that felt very uncontrollable some days.
Yeah, 100%. And it just makes you mindful of your time. You figure out where you're wasting. And all of a sudden you see how important this 5 minutes and that 5 minutes is. And then you can put those 5 minutes to use for things like, oh, I don't know, your business.
Or like, imagine if you stop drinking, how much time you have. It's unrealistic how much more time you have, because like I would have a drink and then becomes completely unproductive.
100%.
Then it was like, okay, well now when I come back from dinner, I can still do an hour's worth of catch up on stuff. Not, I need to go have some Doritos because I'm kind of drunk hungry. I'm just talking about friends of mine, not me. I never, ever ate Doritos.
Never.
Nope, never. So you've gone on to the other phases, right? So a lot of people get a little confused on these phases. And as what's caused you to go on and maybe tell everybody a little bit about the other phases?
I just wanted to see if I could. It was the same reason that I started 75 hard, because a 5-minute cold shower sounded freezing cold.
Which I need tips on that because I start mine on Sunday.
Go in cold. Don't do the warm, take your shower, do everything, and then go cold. Go in cold, set your timer for 5 minutes, get as much done as you can, and then you can turn up the heat if you need to. Okay, but I got to the point where I was doing my full 5-minute shower and I was done showering. Like I had shaved, shampooed my hair, like head to toe done. And the timer would go off and I'd need like 32 seconds more to get the rest of the conditioner out of my hair. And I was done. Again,
I like that idea. Yeah.
More time to find, right?
Yeah, you have to take a cold shower. You have to do 10 minutes of visualization and you have to do three new habits. And in addition to all the stuff in the first round.
But again, not crazy, not terrible hard. It was very doable.
No, and so truth be told, I never was a big believer in visualization. Like it's a little woo-woo to me. It's a little like it's not action. Like I'm let's just take action. And then I listened to his podcast on it and it kind of clicked for me where it's like, if you spend 10 minutes visualizing owning a beach house, and thinking like, well, what kind of sheets do I want in my bed? And what do I want in my kitchen? It gets you so motivated to do the hard things that get you to the place that you want to be, that it sets your tone for your day. And I think a lot of times, and I see this all the time in insurance agencies, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Starting a scratch agency is incredibly hard, but once you pass I can pay my bills and I have enough revenue, the first couple years, once you start getting people and things get a little cozier, a little bit more comfortable, it's like, I ask agencies, I was like, well, what's your goal? What's your plan? And no one has one, because it's like, well, we're going to probably grow 7-8% every year just by being in business. And, well, if I have a plan, then what if an agency acquisition comes along? Well, then do it if it fits, but don't do it. Like your plan should be not to have a plan. And so when I started thinking about the visualization, I'm like, man, most agencies don't actually know what they want to be when they grow up.
100%. Right? Yep.
And I know you and Greg have got, sorry, go ahead. What'd you say?
No, it's because you get comfortable. That's exactly it. You can pay your bills. You're not hungry anymore.
You're not hungry. And it's like, you go on the nice vacations and you get the bonus check and it's like, oh, this is cool. We're going to go, pay our mortgage off or, do whatever. Our kids' college education's done. You're like, what do we do now? And, but then you don't hit your potential of like a private jet, which is like on my visualization list. So if you ever see me visualizing myself in a private jet, my husband wants a yacht, right? And I'm like, Sweet Pea, I am Casper the ghost. What do you think I would die? Yeah. Stacy can go. And then
I'll go.
He keeps telling me that there'll be an indoor, like there'll be air conditioning on the inside. So if you see me out there, like reflecting the sun, it's because of that. Well, and the helicopter that can land on the yacht to take me to my plane will also be very cool, but
there you go. I like it.
So how did you deal with the visualization, and did you guys visualize about the agency?
I did right before bed every night. Mm-hmm. And I started with the things that I was thankful for. And I went from there. So I started with the things that I was thankful for here at the house, moved to the agency. And then from there, I went to, okay, what comes next and what are we working for next? And I'll tell you, just in that little bit of 30 days, I was able to identify a few of the really big things that we've been trying to work on. And I was able to put a plan together. I was able to feel it a little bit more. I'm very kinesthetic. Like I have to see it, touch it, feel it for it to feel real right for me. And that was kind of the loop. It closed the loop for me. And I was able to understand and feel more about what the next step was to get us to the next piece. It was some of the marketing things at the office. There were some things here at the house to buy our next house. There were pieces that did for me. And it was good for me to end the day that way because I felt a little more accomplished, but then my brain was able to work on it all night long. So I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be like, okay, I got this. I know what we're doing. Like, get out of my way. I got things to do. And it was a good way to do it for me.
That's awesome. And so, for people who are like on the fence, right? Because it like, I think from what I hear anyway, and like I said, there's a few insurance agent groups starting 75 hard. And I just want to say I want to say this politely. So for the people out there starting 75 hard, I really hope that you do it authentically and don't do it and check it in and lie and say, oh, I just had a beer, but I'm just going to tell the group I did it because, sometimes in insurance, we get a little showboaty and not as authentic potentially as we should be. And so I really hope that, you're honest. Like I was doing it with a friend of mine, Beth De La Forest. She and I started the same day, posted it online and she's like, I'll do it with you. And somewhere along the way, I'll never forget, I was in Arizona where there was a rattlesnake watch. Okay. It's rattlesnake season, which is in our text chain of me freaking out about like getting eaten by a rattlesnake while having to work out outside. Okay. Just keep this in mind. So Arizona, July, 7 bajillion degrees in rattlesnake season. And I am outside getting my workout on, just for all y'all out there who think you can't do it. So she texted me that morning and she's like, I forgot to read yesterday. She's like, I just got my day. I normally do it in the morning. And I like, my kid needed something and I just got about the day. And then I totally just, and she put herself back to day one, and it wasn't just like, oh, I've learned so much, I'm just going to keep going. It was like, nope, the rules are the rules, back to day one.
Yep.
And so the reality of the situation is that's what kind of makes you mentally tough, is one, owning it for yourself, right? Like if you go through this whole thing and you just kind of check it in, it's like, well, I just ate a cupcake, it's not that big of a deal. The whole idea is that one cupcake will lead to the second cupcake, will lead to the drink, will lead to the other things. So I hope if you're doing it, you do take it seriously, and then there's also a bunch of people who I think maybe I've inspired a bit. They're like, I'm going to do 75 light.
Right. 75 medium. And you're like, what does that mean?
I'm going to do 75 soft. And none of those people ever make it 75 days. So it's not even 75. It's just like, I'm going to work out. It's like, why don't you just say that I'm going to work out. That's a good starting point. And I know you're like in an intermediate phase where you have to wait some days before your next phase. And so I would say I would do 75 light ish, like in the intermediate phase, but I don't know. I have some feelings on the people who do 75 medium.
I mean, here's the deal. It's just not it. It's not it. So you can't call it that. Like you can say you're being mindful and you're working out.
I'm on a diet. I'm reading.
Yeah, right. Like I'm not drinking for 30 days, whatever it is. Like that's fine. But you can't call it 75 anything because it's 75 nothing.
Right.
Like the whole point is you don't compromise. The whole point is the integrity of what you're doing, because those are the things that build you up to be able to hit that next level of rock star.
I also like the fact that like I wasn't in charge of picking all the things.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's like Andy says just to do these things. And so for those of you guys who don't know, Andy Frisella is the creator of it. And he was significantly overweight at one point in his life. And now he runs multi-million-dollar nutrition supplement company and other companies. He's got a great podcast. I can tell you he's not everybody's cup of tea. I do listen to his podcast. Every now and again, it gets a little too bro-y for me. And I'm like, okay, bro fest. But there's very few people in the world, I think 100% like I love them dearly. But he tells it like it is. And I listened to his podcast a lot while I was working out because it was just a good reminder of don't go backwards, basically. And keep on and keep focused. So the bottom line is if you are in a place in any part of your life that feels out of control, I recommend this because it will be something that gives you control back in your life. And if you're having any doubts of like, what do you do? So let's talk about this for a second. What do you do socially when all of a sudden you're not drinking, right? So for me, I'm going to be honest, like I'm a 39-year-old female who has no children. The instantaneous thought in my mind was I stopped drinking and everybody's like, oh, she's pregnant. and I'm like, no, I just stopped drinking. So I felt like I had to be super public about it. Otherwise it was going to be like, is she pregnant? Which is a weird norm in society in general.
It was really, I didn't cover it up. I didn't not talk about it. And so if anybody asked, it was just like, I'm not drinking. I'm doing this 75 hard thing. Now, I do think over the holidays, I think my parents prefaced kind of the family so they knew why I wasn't drinking.
Well, based on my family's background, somebody would have come up to me and look for a chip or something. So,
well, and then I felt a little ripped off. I wanted my chip. I was like, I did this for 30 days. Like, I'm pretty sure there is a chip that comes with this.
I think you have to do some other steps too.
I'm sure there's a lot I missed in that. Yeah. Look, I stuck with 75 hard. I am good. I'll take that chip all day long. It's fine.
There you go. But socially for me, drinking, like I would just tell people, yeah, I'm not drinking. I'm on a fitness routine, and people were pretty cool about it. In fact, what I noticed was when we'd go out, people drank less.
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, okay, I want to drink, like that's cool. And they wouldn't have a drink, but it didn't bother me if people were drinking around me.
Right.
It's like your personal preference. And so you have to figure some of that stuff out. So,
and it was kind of fun though to watch. It was fun to watch everybody else drink and just it was a good social experiment to watch people watching.
I agree. And I didn't miss it even while people were drinking around me.
No. Mm-mm.
I think I just was like, okay, well, I'm going to go to bed. It's going to feel great. And, I'll be ready to work out tomorrow. In my head, I was maybe planning my next day so much that I was like, that's going to stop me from being able to do these things that are working for me. So I don't want to sabotage it.
Yep. 100%.
So what are the big 3 pieces of advice you'd have for an insurance agent who's thinking about doing 75 hard, Stacy?
I would say the big 3 pieces of advice. Don't hesitate. Just do it. Pull the trigger and just start quickly. Do it quickly and pick whatever nutrition that works for what you need. Right? That's the intermittent fasting is the easiest thing you'll ever do. It simplifies everything about your world. Yeah. And it works great. And when you look at the science behind it, because some people are like, well, you're not supposed to do that. Look at the science behind it. It actually is really good for you. It levels your blood sugar out. There's a lot of really good things that need to come from that. But
I don't think I'll ever eat breakfast again.
Gosh, I sure love brunch.
But I can eat I can eat it for lunch. Like I can eat the same food,
yeah.
But I had so much more energy. I mean, it was squirmish the first 2 weeks. You're like, well, should we tell them our top secret, how we get through fasting?
Yes, 100%. Yes.
So how I decided I was going to do fasting is when you feel like hungry and you're like, because it's your body basically converting. It's trying to give you these signals that you're hungry. And so it's your body is converting to find the fat to burn as fuel. Right. So in my mind, I made it like Pac-Man was just trying to find his fat to eat. So on this epic text chain, there is many gifs of Pac-Man trying to find his food source. And so if you just really think if you're going to be fasting when you're hungry, it's like, oh, that's just Pac-Man trying to eat my fat. And then, you just you have a cup of coffee and you drink your gallon of water and you go about your day.
You just keep moving.
And then you watch the process pictures. Like, look, Pac-Man ate a lot today.
Look what happened. Here it is.
Had a good week this week.
See, again, visualization, right? Like that's a really good way to visualize what's going on and look what happened.
Yeah, it's great. Pac-Man now knows how to find his fat and I don't get as hungry.
And then I would say the other big takeaway was being mindful of watching where my time went. I think it made me really look at the good habits, the bad habits, the attitudes, mine and other people's. And it really gave me the opportunity to kind of step back and go, okay, we're no nonsense. We don't have time for this. Like, here's what we need to do. And we're going to do this or we're not going to do this. Like, here's your options. And lots of love and logic going on here. Like, here's your 2 choices, pick one or the other and move on. Yeah. So I would say that was the other big takeaway from the program was just learning how to cut through the crap and get things done. You have to get things done. You don't have time to waste. It's not a luxury that should be wasted.
I think my big 3 takeaways were my squad got stronger, like my support system got stronger. And I know I've seen a lot of people who say oh, my spouse wasn't supportive. Like I had the exact opposite. Like he was my biggest cheerleader. And of course he did 75 soft and lost like 25, 30 pounds and like hasn't worked out once, but just ate better. And I was just like, I was not his cheerleader. I was the angry, like, stop that. I think for me, I felt like everything was just clearer. I don't know how to explain it, but like, I had a plan for the day. It wasn't this like, well, we'll see if I can fit it in. We'll see what happens. It was like, it was these things were these cornerstones of my day. And I thought that the second workout was going to be hard. And it for me, it was because sometimes I'd be like, at an airport walking the airport at 4 a.m, or I'd be on my Peloton at 3:15 because I had a flight at 6 a.m. Or my personal favorite, like hotel parking lots, being outside walking with like total sketch balls in the parking lot, like hand on 911, being like, okay, here we go. It's 2:30 in the morning. We got a 5 a.m. flight. We got to get out here and walk, baby. Like, let's do it.
It's done.
Let's just get it done. And it wasn't a big deal, but, I don't know. I felt like everything was clearer for me. It wasn't so like, how am I going to get things done? Where's this? Where's that? It was like, I have 2 hours before I have to do XYZ, put your head down, just cruise through it.
Yep.
And then the last thing I think was interesting was, and I don't know, like, I feel like I have a unique position in the world just in what I do, but I feel like people definitely looked at me differently. Like I'd walk into a room and be introduced to the whole team, be like, and by the way, she's on 75 hard and she's not drinking. And it was like, okay, cool. like I was a Navy SEAL or something. Like I was like this anomaly of like, I can't, how do you do this? What's the deal? And I was like, well, it's not that big of a deal. I think anybody could do it, but it would be like the look on people's faces, like, you don't drink, you don't do this, you don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, but I never looked at it like that monumental, I guess. Does that make sense?
100%. So the final day of my final workout of 75, right? Like it was just the first part of it. And I went for my walk and I came in the front door and Greg and the boys were standing right here. And they literally like started clapping and I almost burst into tears. It was one of the coolest things. And because I didn't know they were watching, I didn't know they were paying attention.
Yeah. And
that right there, I was like, oh, so people are watching, people are paying attention to what you're doing. That's when it became more of a responsibility. And whether it be in an agency, people watching, or whether it be kids or other people's children watching, like that's when you were like, oh, this is why I have to step up and be awesome every single day.
Yeah. And I had people reach out to me like, hey, can I talk to you about 70? I've been thinking about doing it. And I didn't realize like, I was just doing it to do it for me. And like, kind of was like, well, I want to be a badass too.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I guess I didn't totally realize like that it was motivating other people to maybe stop drinking as much or, do X, Y, Z. And I was like, well, that's kind of a cool secondary effect to it. Like you can be somebody that other people can model too.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So let's just say somebody's listening to this as we recap, because you've got a hungry football team of people that need Subway sandwiches. All right. So they're listening to this. They're like, what do I do? I want to do this tomorrow. Let's recap. Like what steps do they need to take to get on 75 hard?
Spend the $5 and get the stupid app. Number one, 100% get the app and pick a diet that is straightforward and simple and go buy some new walking shoes.
Yes. And listen to the podcast. Like if you go and you Google it, and I think that's even in the app, but it'll tell you the podcast to listen to. There is a book and Stacy was so kind to send it to me. I think I read it 3-4 weeks in. I like the podcast because I'm like an audio person. But the book gives you a good background and good history on everything. But I think I had listened to so many of his podcasts by that point in time. Like I kind of knew the story, but I would definitely say that. I would also add on to it, find an
accountability partner.
Yeah, but I want to say this in a way that's like, don't go to your best friend that's going to be like, do you want to just have a drink tonight? We'll start over tomorrow. Like you need a true person, or like people who almost like I didn't know Beth that well. She reached out to me and it was like a great accountability partner, because it wasn't like, oh, we've had a hard day. Oh, I understand. It's okay if you messed up.
Right.
So I think if you're going to do it, you need to have a real, true, like no nonsense, no BS person.
Yeah. Somebody that's going to hold your toes to the fire. I think that's a big deal.
And I think you need somebody who's going to do the same level of intensity you are. Like they have to believe at the same level. It shouldn't be like, well, I'll toe dip 75 hard, see how it goes. There is no seeing how it goes. It's either it went or you're back to day one. So keep that in the back of your mind. So,
And if you fail, start over. Don't
start
wait
over.
don't wait a week. Don't give yourself a few days off. Start over the next day. That piece of it that's fresh in your mind. Like you got to get right back to it.
Yeah. I almost regret taking the week off like a little bit. Like I don't regret it because this week was just like insane for travel, and like looking back on it, like I could probably use just a little mental rest from everything. But now I'm kind of like, man, it's like starting over again on Sunday. Like, okay, I got to get the app. Where's my book? I had it all down pat. Now I called it my Rumspringer. Like when the Amish go like leave for like 2 weeks to see if they want to come back. It's like, I'm coming back.
I don't want to be out here in the wild on my own.
I know there's too many things. I need the rules.
I love it.
I ate breakfast this week. What kind of person am I?
I need structure. I need structure for sure.
Seriously. I did one 45-minute workout and then a 30-minute workout. I didn't do the 45,
Well, and then you feel like you cheated, don't you?
I did. I felt like I'm so lame. I only did a 30-minute
30
walk,
minutes
not 45 minutes on my week off.
Yeah.
I was just supposed to add in some ice cream and a glass of wine.
I love it.
So, well, that's our story, guys. She's got to go pick up Subway sandwiches for the Bulldogs. And Stacy, I appreciate you telling the world and telling me about it. So you changed my life. And someday we'll celebrate.
Well, maybe like in November.
Someday we'll celebrate probably with like some kind of like nutritional supplement.
I like that idea. I'll send you a lemon drop shake.
Woo! So if you see her and
party,
I away, just remember we're sober. So
yes, we're sober.
So whatever you tell us is definitely going to stay between us.
And we'll remember though. That's the other part.
All right, go take care of the Bulldogs. Thank you, Stacy.
Right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Hey everyone, I want to talk to you about our newest e-course. So when this podcast launches, we may be in our pre-sale, which means that you can buy it before it's ready. Effective October 15th, 2021, you can purchase our new e-course on how to plan and execute, building your plan for the year. What great timing. We're in October, it's fall, the leaves are crispy, and you need a guideline and a workbook for creating your plan. We go over everything from how to build your plan, reports to run. We've hired 3 management system experts for AMS 360, Epic, and Hawksoft, so that you have a guide on what reports to run and what to look for. And then on top of it all, we have a cameo for my dog over here, apparently in the video. On top of it all, we're going to go ahead and tell you how to roll out your plan, what incentives to pick, and how to hold your team accountable. So it's a robust process of creating a really great plan. You'll have the opportunity to buy it pre-sale before it's ready at the most discounted price, or from October 15th through October 31st, when you buy it, you get it instantly at half off. Now, if you're late to the party, because maybe you didn't plan and execute, November 1st, the course goes up to $9.95. So worth every penny, no matter when you get it. And you can keep reusing it and reusing it. So the nice thing is that you'll have it for next year. Our plan, however, is to come up with version 2.0 next year too. So you might want to buy that one. In addition to all that, you could subscribe if you prefer. And for $245 a month, you get access to all of our courses, our renewal review calls, time management, sales training, how to cross-sell, this course, and much, much more. So your choice. But if you like this podcast and you're so motivated to get your plan together, I think you should check out our new Q4 course and workbook, Plan and Execute, How to Build Your Agency's Success Roadmap. We'll take a look at that. Any questions? Let us know. All right. Well, hopefully you got a lot of good insight from the power of discipline. And that's really what 75 Hard is. It's more of a mental fitness challenge than it is anything having to do with diet and weight loss, although those are some pretty darn good side effects. If anybody's interested, love to hit me up. I'll talk to you all day long about the challenge. Also, too, just remember that a lot of the good things we talk about with the mental toughness spill into your agency. So it's a win-win for everybody. Without further ado, we'll sign off this podcast. Make sure to check out 75 Hard. Check out our Q4 2021 launch of How to Plan and Execute. Stacy actually helped me come up with the title of that. So we want to help you make a great plan for next year, and maybe 75 Hard will be part of that.